Hey, welcome back! I haven't mentioned what design software we'll be using throughout the course yet, because I wanted to take the time to do it. If you've already used the design software in the past, chances are it was one of Adobe's products, probably Photoshop. And you might be a bit surprised that I've chosen not to work with Photoshop. There is a very simple reason to this. Photoshop was not created for us. It was not designed for web and app design. The initial purpose of Photoshop is digital image processing, and don't get me wrong, it's very good at this, and it's great if you're a photographer looking to enhance your photos. And I know a lot of web and mobile app designers still use Photoshop in their work, and that's actually what I used to do. But following the lead of many great designers, I've switched to Sketch. Sketch is a great design app for Mac and Mac only, and this is the reason why you need a Mac. It has been created specially for web and app design. It is purpose-built for user interface design, so every feature is crafted around those ideas. Only 20% of Photoshop features are actually useful for UI design. Everything else is not related to UI. It can be really frustrating to have to find your way through thousands of options and tools that are completely irrelevant. On the contrary, Sketch is very simple and very intuitive, yet very powerful and very efficient for UI design. When I switched from the Photoshop Illustrator combo to Sketch, it took me only a couple of days to be fully proficient. And a week later, my productivity had been multiplied by 5, and the outcomes of my designs never looked so good. If you're already a heavy user of Photoshop, Illustrator or Fireworks, this might raise your eyebrows, but bear with me, you're going to love switching to Sketch. If you still need to be convinced, here are a few more good reasons to give Sketch a try. Everything in Sketch is vector-based. If this doesn't mean anything to you, let me explain quickly with this example. Images like JPEG, PNG, and GIFs are bitmap images. That means that they are made of pixels which are tiny dots of color. Vector images are composed of lines and curves from one point to another. A series of interconnected lines and curves makes up a single vector path. Vector graphics use geometrical primitives which are all based on mathematical expressions. And because vector-based images are not made up of a specific number of dots, they can be scaled to a larger size and not lose any image quality. So, unlike bitmap graphics, they are very flexible because they can be resized without them losing precision. This is very useful because when you design, you try different things, you change shapes and resize elements all the time. But Photoshop is pretty bad at handling vectors. Let me show you a quick example. This is Photoshop. We'll start by drawing a square with rounded corners. It looks pretty good right now. Let's try to resize it and see what happens. Now look at the corners. They don't look very good, do they? Let's try to do the same thing with Sketch. We'll draw square, we'll make it red, just like the other one. And you can see that the rounded corners are pretty fine. Let's try to resize it. The corners stay exactly the same. And this is why when working with Photoshop, you often need to work with Illustrator to deal with this, because Illustrator is a vector editor. And this going back and forth for such simple operations like that is just too tiring and time-consuming. Vector-based drawing is by far the best way to design websites, icons, or interfaces. When you'll have tasted it, you won't want to go back. Exporting assets with Sketch is also easier than with Photoshop, especially with mobile app design where we have to export assets for multiple resolutions. Photoshop sucks at doing that. Sketch makes the process of exporting assets much easier, and I'll show you how. Sketch is also lighter than Photoshop in terms of hard drive space, and it uses less memory. If your computer is more than 2 years old, good luck for running Photoshop with more than 2 or 3 files open. My teammates can attest it. Running Photoshop on my previous MacBook used to make me crazy. And it's also way cheaper. Sketch is $50 and that's it. For Photoshop CC you have to pay $25 a month. If you're still a bit skeptical, don't just take my word for it. Read the articles from great designers, including designers from Google, who have switched to Sketch to have their opinions. You can find the links in the description. If you're completely new to this and you've never used a design software in your life, all this might sound a bit confusing. But don't worry, in a few lessons it will all make sense. And let me tell you, you're lucky you won't have to go through the pain of taming Photoshop. If you're doing some freelancing, or plan to do some, and that you're concerned that your clients are used to Photoshop, don't be. Firstly, you'll be able to export your assets however you like, PNG, JPEG, whatever, and it's way easier than in Photoshop. Secondly, push your clients. You don't need Photoshop for UI design. They don't either, especially since they're not designers. If they have to open your files, buying Sketch will be less expensive and manipulating your work will be way easier. Photoshop is complex for designers, so you can guess it's very hard to handle for someone who doesn't work with it every day. Now, let's download and install Sketch. Go to bohemiancoding.com and click on Sketch. You have two options. You can buy it on the Mac App Store or download the free trial. If you buy it on the Mac App Store, it's $49, so you just launch the App Store and wait for it. Click here. For me it's already installed, but you'll have a download or install button. If you don't want to spend $50 right now, you can still download the free trial. It should be very quick. Here we go. Unzip the file you just downloaded and see how light Sketch is. And it's already ready to use. This trial lasts 14 days, so try to complete the course within the 14 days if you don't want to pay for Sketch. But the $50 are definitely worth it. Thanks for watching this lesson, and I'll see you very soon for the next video.